I definitely did my fair share of reading this year, and these are the books that just stick out from the year 2025. For a lot of them, I'm still recommending months and weeks later. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. As I'm filming this, the year 2025 wraps up in 4 days. This year honestly has flown by in a way that I've never seen time move before, but I'm very grateful for everything that happened and I enjoyed the year. But enough about that. As of today, I think I've read about 140 books and novellas, but I have a couple here that really just stuck out and really impacted my year, and for whatever reason I really loved and enjoyed. So we're going to talk about those. Also, the idea of creating a top 10 for the year was really stressing me out. So I'm not going to limit myself to 10 or 5. I'm just going to tell you guys the books that I love this year. Most importantly, because I'm not ranking these and whatever, these are also just my opinions. My favorite books don't necessarily mean the most well written and thoughtfully challenging books that I read this year, just ones that I really love. So we're gonna move chronologically through the year, and I guess maybe see if there's a story that we can tell at the end that I was feeling like as a reader. The first book of the year that I probably just fell in love with was Isaac's Song by Daniel Black, but you can't really talk about Isaac's Song without talking about Don't Cry For Me. So Don't Cry For Me is about Jacob, who's Isaac's dad, and I believe that's him on the back, but he is dying and he's writing a letter to make amends with his gay son and kind of explaining why it was hard for him to be a black man and see his son be gay in the South in the 60s, 70s, I believe, or at least Jacob growing up in the 50s and then raising kids. Yeah. So explaining to him through these letters why he feels like he did the best he could, why he understands now that he hurt him, but that's all he knew. That was the only way that he knew to love. He doesn't make excuses for himself per se. This is where Isaac's story comes in and kind of explains what Isaac was thinking. He just explains love in the best way that he knows how. So that's a little bit of backstory about Don't Cry For Me. Now, when I read this in 2022, I left in my Goodreads review that if only we could get Isaac's POV when he reads these letters, when he sees his father, because we don't really see any of that in the book because Isaac and Jacob are estranged. Then we get this in 2025, and I think I manifested it. So this picks up / is a companion novel to Don't Cry For Me. I keep forgetting that another reason that I love these books is because their family home is in Arkansas. And y'all know, for the most part, if a story is set in Arkansas, I'm gonna be down for it. To me, this book just felt like such the companion novel to be able to read this parent that we've kind of grown up with, and then get to also understand and feel affirmed through the perspective of the child. So for me, this book was more about understanding, and this book was more about empathizing and understanding. Yes, we grow up different times, we have different expectations of us and different things like that, but this book also helped me understand that just because those things happen, that doesn't change the way that you feel. It doesn't change the way that it affected your life. So I can't say that this is better than the other. They're just so different. Dr. Black continues to talk about racism and homophobia, especially with Isaac being a black man in Chicago, figuring out / understanding his sexuality and his relationship with his dad. I think I saw a lot of crossover as far as how I feel in academia and being in spaces where you might be the only person of color or the only person that has a say, but then the pressure of also being that person when you don't necessarily want to, because you should just be allowed to exist in the same space with everybody else. He explores different things like that in the book. Another thing that felt really nice was his journey in therapy. And again, I read this book in January, but I started therapy maybe in August. And I said in my review too that like I really need his therapist, because she just was spitting out gems and spitting out facts. And now at the end of the year, I have my own therapist that's doing the same thing. So great read. Recommend reading both of them. I think they are technically standalones, but don't do yourself the disservice of not being able to understand both perspectives. Where We Found Our Home by Natasha Bishop was probably not the underdog of the year for me, but definitely one of them. Because I enjoy thrillers and because I enjoy romance, I knew that I could be a person that enjoys romantic suspense, but I wasn't looking for it in the right places. People were recommending Catherine Cowles to me, and I started with her book Fragile Sanctuary, which I did not like, so this is not me recommending that. But I think Where We Found Our Home is exactly what Fragile Sanctuary was trying to be. Sierra has a stalker and she moves to Austin, Texas for a fresh start. Enter Lincoln, sexy, tall, black firefighter, a protector, a provider. You see where this is gonna go, right? Eddie, the stalker, he's crazy. I've read actually a couple of stalker books this year, but this one was he was actually standing on business. Eddie ends up getting too big for his britches. He tries to come for my girl, and what does Lincoln do? I won't tell you because you're gonna read it. Getting to see them fall in love with each other, but also getting to define what I wanted romantic suspense to look like. Because if you're gonna dangle a stalker over my head for the majority of the book, when he pops up on the screen on my Kindle or in my headphones, he needs to be vicious. He needs to be a menace, okay? Not just somebody that comes and looks at you and leaves. I think another book that I read this year was Bourbon and Lies that had a stalker in it, but he was also another stalker. He came guns a-blazing, shooting up stuff. If you are going to have a stalker that is driving a character away or to do something else, when he shows up or when the stalker is revealed, it better be something. It better be something. So this book for me, again, was romantic, but also very just impactful for the genre for me. And that's what I'm seeking now when I read or when I'm looking for romantic suspense. Up next is Beg, Borrow, or Steal. This concludes the When in Rome sisters trilogy, if you will. This one is by far my favorite one. It's rivals to lovers, but kind of It's Always Been You. These two are second grade teachers and they happen to now be neighbors. But Jack, which is our main character's name, he left the school earlier in the summer, I think, and was engaged and gonna get married. So Emily, our female main character, gave up on the romantic spark and tension that was there. It's a romance book, so obviously he comes back, he's no longer engaged, and they enter into this beautiful rivals to lovers that I crave. Something about academic rivals to lovers, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be academic, so within like a school setting, but I need them to be academic. I need them to be intellectual, and these two were. The best part of this book for me was also that these two are writers. So they have their own little thing about how they're writers. Jack is writing under a pen name, and Emily kind of wants to get her book off the ground. She's writing a manuscript. So they go back and forth. It gives very beach read as they are editing each other's manuscripts and being beta readers for each other. And I will never forget the scene blocking chapter. That's all I'm gonna say. These were just two people that were meant to be together. And 2025 was the year for me of romantic lovers. He would just say things to her like, I'd walk through all my worst memories to get to you every single time. These were two people that were meant to be together, and I loved it so much. And actually, now that I'm talking about it and remembering it, I have to reread it soon. Another yearner is back. I told y'all at the start of the year that Brianna and Roman were going to be two people that I talked about for a long time, and look at us wrapping up the year with them again. This is The Love Simulation. These two enter into a 6-week Mars simulation to see who can last the longest. They are raising funds for their school. Brianna is an assistant principal and Roman is a teacher there, but his dad is the principal, and his dad wants to move him up instead of paying attention to the things that Brianna would want to do for the school, like instead of, or in addition to, a state-of-the-art football facility, how about we also have a library? So that's why Brianna is going into this simulation. And then it ends up being just the two of them, very forced proximity. I talked about defining genres for me. This redefined or expanded what forced proximity can look like. It doesn't have to just look like, oh, you're moving into your best friend's brother's house for the summer or this or that. No, this was such a fun take on it and literally a forced proximity situation. So I don't know how Etta came up with this idea, but it was perfect. 2025 also brought me Etta Easton in all of her work, so now I'm excited to continue to recommend her, but also to read whatever she has next. Next is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Not many books made me cry this year, but this was one. Joan has been in love with stars and space for as long as she could remember, and she has the opportunity to go to space. Or, well, yeah, she does have the opportunity to go to space, but she also just has the opportunity to be involved with NASA and the idea of space. She does fall in love as well with a woman. And this is set in the summer of 1980, so very taboo, okay, for two women to be together and in love, but that is what happens with her and Vanessa, who is also involved with NASA and ends up going to space. The book jumps back and forth between the current mission that the team is on, with Vanessa being in space and Joan being like, I don't know what it's called, the command or the control, and then them living everyday life and kind of falling in love. We also get the subplot of Joan's sister and her niece, and pretty much her sister just not really caring to mother her child anymore, and Joan understanding that, dealing with that, processing that, and figuring out how to then step up. It tugged on the heartstrings. Taylor Jenkins Reid is someone that I do feel like writes well, and it's hard to read something that she writes and just not feel pulled one way or the other. This one in particular was, again, I'm seeing the theme of yearning, but this one in particular, Joan and Vanessa just fighting to have the things that they loved in life, but also each other, which was the thing that they maybe loved most, in the world not allowing that to happen through certain situations. So I did cry. I was sad, but I also felt good about the ending. While we are talking about reads that made me cry, here is another one. This is The Bright Years by Sarah Damoff, and this is also the book that I voted to win debut of the year. Can't remember if it won or not, but this is almost very similar to Don't Cry for Me and Isaac's Song, in the sense of it's a story of forgiveness, love, divorce, hate, trauma, and ultimately I think forgiveness. You got to see all of the sides of this familial unit, which was made up of mom, dad, and daughter. Same thing with the other books, right? It's hard to see parts of yourself in books and feel like you resonate with something, and I just believe that you can find something that you need anywhere. So I don't know what I was crying at, but this book did make me feel some type of way. I feel like you really have to read the synopsis to kind of understand what it's getting at. One family, 4 generations, a secret son, a devastating addiction. A Texas family is met with losses and surprises of inheritance, but they're unable to shake the pullback towards each other in this big-hearted family saga. Ryan and Lillian Bright are deeply in love, recently married, and now parents to baby girl Georgette. But Lillian has a son she hasn't told Ryan about, and Ryan has alcohol addiction he hasn't told Lillian about. So Georgette comes of age watching their marriage rise and fall. When a shocking blow scatters their fragile trio, Georgette tries to distance herself from the reminders of her parents. Years later, Lillian's son comes searching for his birth family, so Georgette must return to her roots, unearth her family's history, and decide whether she can open up to love for them or herself while there's still time. Told from 3 intimate points of view, The Bright Years is a tender, true-to-life novel that explores the impact of each generation in a family torn apart by tragedy, but over time restored by the power of grace and love. This book just destroyed me for about like an hour. Beautifully written and beautifully done. Stories can have bad things happen in them and still be beautiful, because that's what happens every day in life. And this was just a representation of that, because I was sad during the book, I was happy during the book, I was angry, I was disappointed, I was upset, but at the end I felt resolved because everything made sense in the end. And that felt good to know, that grace and forgiveness are things that we're constantly working towards, but that everything is gonna work out in the end. Another yearner, this is Louisa and Henry's story in the Heartbreak Hotel. Louisa just got dumped and she was living in this house owned by Henry the veterinarian. So Louisa is working towards her degree to be a counselor, but she's not there yet. And she asked Henry, hey, can I rent out this lovely 6-bedroom house to not only stay here and be able to afford my rent, because she was just dumped and no longer is paying for the house. Can I fix it up? Can I keep it nice? And can people come in and out so that I can pay you and still live here? Henry says yes. But Henry has always had a little eye for Louisa. So yes, they do fall in love. But he is standoffish and he has things that he doesn't want to share with her yet. And they end up doing that. Also, all of the guests that come and stay in the house were very memorable as well. They each had their own story and perspective that added to Louisa and Henry. I think it's nice when you go from reading books that are so character focused between 2 people, even though there are side characters, to side characters being built into the novel, because without them, it wouldn't be the Heartbreak Hotel. 5 out of 5, loved it. 2025 was the year for the earners. Another book that has side characters built into the framing of the novel is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jesse Q. Sutanto. I read this book initially to get a little digital badge on Goodreads, and I'm so glad that I did, because I loved everything about it. Vera Wong is an older woman and she owns a tea shop, and she comes downstairs one morning and she finds a dead body on her tea shop, and she makes it her priority to figure out who did it and why. So we run into Marshall, who's the man that died, his wife, a couple of people that he worked with, different things like that. And let's get the record straight that Marshall was a horrible human being for sure. But Vera is a sleuth, and she takes it again upon herself to figure out how this happened. We get those perspectives of all those different characters and the interactions that they had with Marshall, and Vera gets a family out of this. So again, that found family is coming back. She gets to be a grandma, she gets to be a matchmaker, she does all these things throughout the story, and just really enjoyed it. Super wholesome. When I didn't know what I was getting myself into, because I just looked at the cover and thought it was interesting. So I was not expecting a murder mystery to have me saying, "Aw, aw, aw." But this one really did. Burn Bright by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Simply, honestly, for the anticipation and fulfillment alone, this series back here, and in particular, Kiss the Sky and Fuel the Fire, are the books that focus on Ben's parents, so kind of the start of the Cobalt Empire. And I fell in love with Connor Cobalt. He is probably top 3 book boyfriends of all time. He's definitely top 3 book boyfriends of all time, and defines what I look for, and that is a billionaire romance and academic intellect. Okay, both. And Rose had it as well. That's what makes it so good. I could talk about the Addicted and Calloway Sister series in its own video, and maybe I should, but let's focus back on Burn Bright. So I was so excited to finally expand on that family, because that family, like I said, is my favorite, and the other 2 families kind of have their own spin-off series going on. I was nervous about how this would go. Would it just feel like a cheap replication of Connor? Would it feel like it was trying too hard or doing too much? And it didn't. It was perfect. Also, amazing OCD representation, health representation, and establishing side characters as well. I think that's something that they do in their universe, and these 2 are a set of people that deserve to create their own multiverse with characters, because they write them so well and they're not two-dimensional, and truly you feel like you understand why this character does that, because we see on the page why they do that and why they would do something else. Very easy read. This is a standalone, and unlike I said earlier today, I do think you could be okay reading this book if you wanted to just start here, but I'm a big believer in understanding. I would not tell you to start here. You can, but I wouldn't tell you to. You got to do your homework. You got to do your homework and read this first, okay? Then come back to me and we'll have a discussion. Speaking of top 3 boyfriends of all time, I'm so glad that 2025 brought me Russ. How many videos does he have on the channel now? About 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Who knows? And this will never, ever be the last. I love him so much. Nina is a model. Russ is a CEO of a company. These 2 have been seeing each other for a little bit, but Nina just booked a job at Russ's company, unbeknowingly to both of them. And now they're at the stage of figuring out, we need to be in each other's lives. We are going to be in each other's lives, but how can we work out the HR of it all? Found this book at a time when I was looking for independence, but also trying to figure out how to date and view relationships without being too invested or trying to give too much up of yourself. And even though Nina ends this with the relationship of all time, I think she still stood on her morals and the qualities that she was looking for. And she did date throughout the book. She's considered the plus size player. So she had a different man for everything that she wanted, and was just moving through life and allowing them to do different things for her, until Russ pretty much said, you need to hang it up. Hang it up with that roster. You're my woman. 1,000,000 out of 10 stars. Just read it. Cliff and Michelle, Cliff and Michelle, Cliff and Michelle, Cliff and Michelle. Romance of the year. Let's just say romance of the year. Let's just call it Ace of Spades and say romance of the year. Set in 1970 in Vermont, as you can tell by the cover. This was very autumny, very fall. Michelle is coming back to run her late mom's bed and breakfast, and she falls in love with single dad Cliff, who is a baker. I don't even think I need to say anymore, because everything about that sentence was already just perfect. She's divorced and black cat. He's very much like dad jokes, golden retriever, and they are perfect together. Another yearner, okay? We had that's the theme. I've already called it earlier in the video, but re-emphasizing. This year for me was about searching for the perfect yearner, because that's what I want to compile soon. Yearner Academy, a list of books where the man just yearns, because I think it's a lost art. And this it's definitely going to be number one. Underdog of the year was Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. And why I say underdog was because when I initially picked this up, I flipped through a couple pages and said, I'm not reading this. Then I gave myself a little bit of, I don't know, I told myself to try again. And I did. And I fell in love with the story. She typically writes these magical realism type romances. So Sasha and Joni are both musicians and have this call for music, but they end up being able to hear each other's thoughts all the way up until kind of the climax of the story, and then they lose it. We find out so many just different things. This book felt like the perfect representation of invisible string theory, and that's what I think I enjoyed about it so much. Just two people that were meant to be together and found their way to each other. And because the premise is so interesting, that also allowed for things that would make you laugh, things that would be unexpected, because it's not something that you read every day. If there's a book on your shelf that you DNF'd and you've been eyeballing like, maybe I should try it again, you should, because it could end up like this one and you love it. And finally, a book that stood out this year for me was Matchmaking for Psychopaths by Tasha Coriel. Lexi's fiance runs off with her best friend at the start of the novel. In her grief or kind of sad state, she decides to start matchmaking for psychopaths, because we learn throughout the book that she has a history of a psychotic mother, pretty much. She meets a lot of people doing this job, but she meets Rebecca, who becomes her best friend, and she also falls in love with Aiden. I'd call this less of a romance, even though it was definitely romance driven, and more of a funny thriller. I don't really know how to explain it. It was definitely a thriller, but I wasn't scared or spooked or anything. And I did figure out who the killer was, but everything about the book was just so fun. The payoff is huge when authors take risk and do different things like this in their own way. And that's what Tasha did. I truly had so much fun reading this book, and I look forward to the new things that she comes out with as well. So this is the first year that my favorites list is mainly just full of romance, which is okay. Glad that I allowed myself to have those experiences and try those new reads, because now I am more curious about different genres and finding out things like that. So I think I needed to lean into romance this year, and I'm glad that I did. Looking at this list, themes were definitely romance, forced proximity, yearning, and family. Let me know what your favorite or favorites of 2025 were, and if we have any that are overlapping or some that are on your TBR. If this is the last time that you see me before 2026, I'm so excited to see what the new year brings, and if my reading tastes change, my preferences stay the same, just what themes are going to come out of next year through my reads. Make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Vlogmas is done now, so we're getting back to content and posting as normal. Make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss out, that you like the video. You can follow me on my other social medias. All of that is linked in the description down below. And until the next video, start prepping for 2026. It's coming soon. Out and dance like we used to dance. It was old and I can't tell you who.